Hi, everybody. It's Jesse Ziegler from Cycle News. That's Ryan Nitzen over there. We just wrapped up our 2023 250 four-stroke motocross shootout.
The Husky and the KTM are entirely different this year. The gas is not changed. So the gas is going to have that same old engine, that the old frame and engine that the KTM Husky had.
Yep.
The Husky does sit, it's 10 millimeters lower than the KTM. So the stanchion is actually on the fork and the shock is 10 millimeters lower. And it doesn't seem like a big deal, but what this translates to is the seat height is actually 3/4 of an inch lower on the Husky than it is on the KTM.
Different bar bend than the KTM.
But as far as frame and engine, this is probably the closest that the Husky and the KTM have been, aside from those suspension changes that make it lower to the ground.
It also has a different airbox assembly bolted inside that frame and subframe that has a different airflow character into the engine.
Fourth place this year is the Husqvarna FC250.
Yep.
And again, hard to chop up all the differences between the KTM Husky and gas. The Husky and the KTM are super similar this year, aside from a few differences. And those differences are just at the end of the day what made it stand out and what made it fall a little bit short.
Yeah, if you're walking by them, it's hard to tell the difference. But as soon as you spin a lap, you know you're on a different bike when you're on the Husqvarna. And I think the biggest thing that probably knocked it down in the ranking is the really, really low bar bend and the really cramped feeling of the bike when you're in the turn or when you're like trying to be aggressive, standing up, going over a jump. Like if you're just sitting sort of pedestrian and you're just kind of like cruising around in the turns, it's actually a premium ride because you're stuck to the ground, you're Velcro to the ground with a lower suspension. The bike has like the center of gravity's millimeters lower, so that's all helping you like have a confident casual experience. As soon as you start going faster and standing up and getting more aggressive, I think the ergonomics of it get a little funky.
Yeah, and especially for our taller guys, that's really what they noted is
definitely them.
The Husky just felt a little more crammed, that bar bend and being a little bit lower to the ground. I think you said Velcro to the ground. That's like the best word to describe the Husqvarna.
Yeah.
You can hit any flat turn. You can stand up. It just is stuck to the ground. It feels so good. It does feel a little longer, a little more stable in those sections.
Yep.
But it was easier for our taller guys to ride the KTM or the gas than it was for them to ride the Husqvarna.
Overall benefit of the lower chassis suspension isn't equating to a higher performance metric here in a shootout scenario. Again, if you're that class guy or even a fast, shorter stature rider, you're going to be really happy with the Husqvarna because some of that just really adds into the overall comfort of the bike and predictability. Like you said, it feels lower and longer, but it still has like a nice, precise, sort of like predictable way it steers and it goes into corners.
I would say if you're like 5'9" and under, and you're debating
you're not going to have a problem with
and
this
you're
bike.
debating between a Husqvarna or a KTM, I would go with the Husqvarna.
It's going to be more comfortable for you.
Because all of our shorter riders favored the Husqvarna more than our taller riders did.
Yeah. The other thing that is a little polarizing, but not necessarily a negative, is the airbox and the airflow. It changes it. So it's not quite as instant. It's not quite as free revving or free off the bottom as the KTM is. It adds a little bit more muffle to the intake where it almost delivers a little more torquey drive instead of like a snappy power drive. So honestly, I like it. I like the power delivery a little better than KTM's more like aggressive, like snap spin up to speed.
It kind of reminded me like when those old Hondas used to have that airbox that has the screen in it.
Right. And there's just like something in the way of it freely revving all the way to its potential.
And then like the gas, the older engine almost feels like there's no screen in there. It feels real revvy.
It's just snappy.
The Husqvarna is the most expensive of the group.
Yeah, which is interesting.
It's the only bike that has an MSRP of over $10,000. So if you're a price sensitive guy, you're going to probably steer away from the Husqvarna. Be sure, guys, check out. We're gonna have a whole write up in Cycle News magazine, a weekly magazine. You're gonna find that at cyclenews.com. All of our social channels, Cycle News. Follow us on YouTube, everything like that.
Yeah. Just keep watching cool motorcycle stuff. I don't care where you watch it.
We do care. CycleNews.com. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next time.